Finding happiness is important for all of us. And to do that, we've got to feel safe and have some understanding around passion and acceptance. I spoke to Angela Hryniuk, who's a therapist who actually has a way of trying to achieve that. The relationship thing and money is interesting because we're constantly bombarded with change in our lives, and with relationships. You know, the other partner or yourself might be, you know, have changed your job, or maybe you've been, you know, you've lost your job. Mm-hmm. You might be challenged in terms of, I've got to go and move overseas because there is a job and I want to go. Sure. And that can create enormous change and enormous conflict in a relationship. Mm. How do you start counselling people and couples around dealing with those major changes?
Major changes. Okay, so
it's all money based again, because they're doing it for
sure
the buck.
What you'll always see is the default program that comes up when change happens. Okay, so default of any kind of wound right at the beginning. Like again, we just draw it right back. So the default might be one of three things: fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, and this is the physiology. There's neural pathways that are created as children, right? It's the programs. Fight, flight, freeze. Am I going to fight it out? Couples will fight it out. One of them might freeze and just say, "Well, you just do whatever. I'll just follow," right? Mm-hmm. Or one of them's out of there. It's like, "You're not going to follow me? I'm out." Like it's this conflict situation. Yeah. And I bring it back to, okay, we've got to move to a fourth place, which is flow.
I like that.
Yeah. And again, it's about presence. It's about hearing each other. Because the trauma will get triggered. Trauma being, I'm being abandoned. Or I'm being rejected. Right? That's a primary trauma of children. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Attachment issues. And I'm not talking grievous, mental, physical, sexual abuse. I'm just talking about just a child who hasn't been seen because the mother was pregnant during when the little girl was 18 months old. And it's in that 0 to 18 month period that all of this attachment, abandonment, rejection stuff starts. Yeah. So we wind it back.
So what you're saying is that our precondition really happens between when we're born and that 18-month period. That's when most of who we are is formed.
Certain patterns, not all of them,
right.
Because there's going to be 7 stages of childhood. And so 0 to 18 months is about attachment, learning about attachment to mother, right? Learning how to detach. You've heard of people who have separation anxiety, somebody leaves the room and they start, that's from 0 to 18 months.
My dog gets that.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? All of this is for the whole species to evolve. This is not just about me or you having our wounds and needing to learn more. This is so that the whole species moves forward. That's why we got to go back. So then at 2 to 3, we've got exploratory issues, right? So the child feels safe. Say that the child feels safe. They've got healthy attachment. Then the child will then learn to explore the world. And if they have wounding there, for instance, later in life, they won't be able to travel. They won't be able to want to go out and explore things because the wounding happened. They weren't seen and heard, right? Then we've got something called individuation, like becoming an individual. So we move through these different stages. Then we got competency. If you're not seen to be competent, and that's about ages 8 through 10, you're very, very competitive. And you get really jealous. Because you weren't seen to be great at what you were doing, right? So these wounds, the people that I work with, we go below just the psychology in the head, and we go into those wounds, those places, the owies, and it's like, let's clean them out. Let's heal them, because once they're healed, they're gone.
That reminds me, I've done quite a bit of kinesiology in the past, and this is what correct me if I'm wrong, but that to me is what kinesiology is about. It's that your body sort of holds memory and it's muscle, and it's one way of clearing it. I'm sure there's many ways of doing it. Is that sort of a similar thing?
Many ways. I mean, my practice is around going to other dimensions of reality. So yes, body holds memory. You are existing, I'm existing, we are all existing right now at a different dimension of reality where that memory is. So it may not be in your body, it may not be behind your leg or whatever. It may manifest there. People with illnesses, they somatize them, it goes into their body, and then they have to work with a kinesiologist to get it out, for instance. But I see people who are perfectly healthy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not going to manifest like that. A lot of it's in the mind, and the addictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.